Well, hello again, sports fans. A bit of a sad report this time because I've just lost yet another plane. This time it's my FPV Raptor version 2, which I've had in the naughty corner for the last 12 months after a series of prangs and dissatisfaction with the way it flew. I decided during some bad weather over the last couple of weeks that I'd try and fix it, so I ripped all the gear out of it, repaired the damage from the last prang, and moved the radio receiver and the video transmitter from the tail and put them out on the end of the wings. I took it out to the field and trimmed it in, and surprisingly the thing's flying relatively well. So last Sunday I had it out and just did a test flight of all the flight modes, and everything was fine. This is the landing that came in. So all the modes had worked. The landing went fine. One thing I didn't notice though was that on the way back to the pits, I picked the plane up and carried it sideways. Obviously I wasn't watching the monitor at the time, but in reviewing the video I can see that the GPS satellite strength indicator had started flashing, indicating that it didn't have any satellite connections. So a couple of hours later I decided to have another flight, put another battery back in the plane, and the Tornado Autopilot doesn't fire up. Can't start the GPS, so I pull the battery out and reconnect it, and do that a couple of times, and eventually reach inside the model and jiggle the GPS antenna connection to the OSD, and lo and behold everything comes good. So I just put the problem down to a loose plug and don't think any more about it, and take it out to the strip and head off to gain some altitude and test the Tornado's loiter modes and return to home modes before I head off to Mount Tennant. So I get up to about 150 meters and slip it into loiter mode. And it goes straight in with no problem, starts to do a circle as it's supposed to do. I just watch it for a couple of seconds and then head back towards the pits where my base station is. Just before I get there I slip it into return to home mode, and I don't immediately notice that it's coming down quite dramatically until I get to the base station and see the screen, and I pull back on the elevator stick and manage to pull it up before it hits the deck, and it fights that, so I slip it back into manual mode and fly it round back in front of me and put on a bit of altitude. So I was curious but not overly concerned, because I thought, well, the rest of the flight's going to be up at altitude, and if something does go wrong with return to home I can always switch into manual mode. So I put it into autopilot mode, which is programmed to go to the top of Mount Tennant, and initially I'm not real happy with the climb angle, and decide to put it into PA mode and put some altitude on it before slipping it back into autopilot mode. So I give it a bit of extra throttle and I head out towards the valley in front of the mountain and pick up some altitude and then slip it back into autopilot mode. So I'm up at about 450 meters and switch to autopilot mode, and it heads back to the mountain. I give it some extra throttle to give it a hand to make the difference, and sit back and watch it climb. So when we get about a kilometre out, I'm up at 700 metres, so I'm pretty confident that it's going to have no trouble making it, and I've cut the throttle back a little bit. When suddenly it drops its nose and turns for home. I'm a bit bemused until I noticed that the waypoint has switched from A to B, and which it shouldn't have done 800 metres away, but again, I'm not overly concerned. I just think it's odd. So I slip it back into PA mode and turn around and decide to fly the rest of the way in PA mode. So I'm still about a kilometre out, and I've lost 100 metres of altitude, but I should be able to get that back without too much trouble. So here we are coming back online. So about a kilometre out, I'm at 750 metres, I'm in PA mode. I've got to get up to about 800 metres before I can clear the top of the mountain. The intention is to get about 50 metres over the top of the towers that are up there and slip it into loiter mode. So we're about 500 metres away from the top at the moment. I can see the towers, so I know what I'm lining up on. It looks like I'm going to be at least 50 metres over the top of them, so I decide I'll slip it into loiter mode round about now. And unfortunately nothing happens, and I'm wondering what's going on. And then first thing I notice is that my distance to home has disappeared, and then I noticed the GPS satellite symbol flashing and realised the GPS has gone out. And I start, well, figure what the heck am I going to do now? So I slip it into return to home mode, but of course nothing happens, and I turn around manually, and I start to notice that the GPS unit is flashing on and off, and the autopilot mode is switching between return to home and PA mode, which is the default when it loses its GPS signal. So the return to home arrow is useless, and the distance to home isn't going to tell me whether or not I'm getting closer or further away from home, which is a bit of a disappointment. I'm attempting to get my bearings as to where I actually am in relation to the home field, and not having much luck with it. The only reliable landmark I've got is the sun, which I think is to the west of where the field actually is, and I'm trying to maintain a course to the right of the sun, but without the distance to home working, I can't really tell whether I'm getting closer or going further away. I'm heading into a wind, so there's a possibility that I am being blown away from the field, but at the same time as I'm trying to make these decisions, I'm messing around with the antennas, trying to get a better, more reliable picture, but things just keep getting worse and worse, and I eventually realise that I've been blown behind the mountain, and it's blocking the video signal. So all I can really do is attempt to fly around the side of the mountain in the general direction of the sun and hope the video improves when I get there. The trouble is I can only do this in the brief flashes of video that I get, and it looks like I've been turned around and might be flying south away from home. So I try and turn around, and I've cut the throttle back to try and extend my flight time, but in retrospect this may have been a mistake, because it doesn't look like I'm making any progress into the wind. It looks like I'm being blown away. But eventually the video gives up completely. There's nothing I can do to even get a flash of it. This is the last frame that I had, and it shows that I've lost a lot of altitude, and I appear to be heading away from the field still, but it was academic because I just didn't see anything. So from here on in, I'm just messing around with the antennas, trying to get a signal. There seems to be a signal there, but it just isn't strong enough for me to do anything. All I can do is hope that the GPS comes good and the plane returns to home, but eventually it's clear that it's not going to, and I shut down the base station. So just to add another layer to this saga, because this was really only a test flight, I hadn't got around to installing my lost model beacon, which might have given me a good chance of recovering this particular plane. But as it is, given that last known altitude and the wind, the search area would just be ridiculously large, so I don't think I'm going to see the Raptor again. I will have a look for it with the Texumo, but I don't have high hopes. And at the end of the day, it's my own fault. It's not as if I didn't get enough warnings from the Cyclops that things weren't going well early on. So I guess the moral of the story is pay attention to the portents. So I don't think I need to replace the plane, but I am upset that I've lost my virtually brand new RunCam 2. So I guess I won't be posting any videos for a while until I get a replacement for that. You might think that's a good thing.